I forgot to do last time. All right. Oh, I gotta read. Okay, so calling the meeting to order at 1:06. And I'm going to read the audio announcement. If I can find it. Bear with me. All right, here we go. This is Nikki Rowland, Chair of the Historic Structures Advisory Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Seeing if Matt's joined us yet, but he hasn't. Lucy?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And Angus? Angus, are you there? I see your name, but I don't hear you.
He unmuted.
Angus, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. So keep trying. I'm going to continue. There's no other staff. So that's no staff and no anticipated speakers. This open meeting of the Historic Structures Advisory Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. For this meeting, HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join in. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Participants may find information on the conduct of this meeting at that location. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. All right. Okay. Angus says he's here, but Angus, we can't hear you. So check your audio.
If you're recording, then everything in the chat should be recorded too. So if he wanted to just type in, it's not ideal, but we'll
yeah,
in the chat.
So yeah, Angus, if you have comments, since we can't hear you, you'll have to type them in. Got it. Thank you. All right. All right. So we're going to have to begin without Matt. Okay, so the first one is 1 Bloom Street, and I will share the screen right here. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as usual, I have something to say, but I'm going to see what you guys think. Jason, do you have any thought? Have you looked at this? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I still find it just as inappropriate as I did originally. I'm glad the roof walk is gone.
Yes.
But I mean, you just look at the existing elevation and its simplicity and its plainness and its screamingly Quaker style of, and you lose the entire house with this. And there's no reason why it couldn't telescope out the back. I know that there's a side yard, but there is a huge backyard that does step up. They could do something really nice by telescoping it back. And this is just totally not appreciating the historic integrity of the house and of the streetscape. There's only 2 houses that face onto Bloom Street, and this is one of them. I just think it's totally inappropriate. I could get down into the weeds of detail, but I just think it's totally inappropriate.
I hear you. I agree. Lucy, did you want to add to that?
I totally agree, and I think that the fenestration on the additions is off. It doesn't. The windows are the same size, but the relationships of the windows to each other just don't work with the original part of the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially on the rear additions.
Yeah.
or side addition. So Angus, can you comment?
I completely agree. There's no substance change. Is I don't know. Maybe you should read the chat just to highlight it, but it should be.
I don't see a chat. Did he?
Yeah, it popped up. If you just hit the chat button,
Oh, there it is.
he did it, and then it goes away.
Okay, Angus says, I completely agree. There's been no substance change. True. So, I looked at the minutes from the HDC, and not everybody, but most of the board felt that the additions should come off of the back of this building. I'm just going to read my usual verbiage here. At the last meeting, the HDC was pretty clear that the additions should come off of the back of the house instead of the front mass. This hasn't been addressed at all. The forward gable addition on the east elevation is too close to the front facade of the building. Plus, an addition off of an addition this close to the street compounds the issue. Ideally, it would be a single-story addition pushed back another 10 feet or so. The rearward gable addition on the east side, and I'm going to show the east side, which is right here. The rearward gable addition on the east side has a modern form that does not relate at all to the character of this 1777 house. It is too wide and boxy. The fully exposed chimney should be on the interior. And the screen porch is too large and completely inappropriate, much too modern looking. A smaller, simple, shed-roofed porch off the back would be more acceptable. In general, this design does not show appropriate respect for the simple character of a house of this vintage, most particularly on the east side. So, I'm basically agreeing exactly with what everybody said so far, that including the HDC, they say the additions should come off the back. And, just to add to that, I think that did I say east? I need to change that to south. I'm sorry, but I misspoke.
Right.
Everything
Sorry.
should have been the south side as a modern form. I got to change the text. So the east, which I said east through south. I'll fix that later on my notes. But anyway, you can see the south elevation. This is the one that I was referring to with the gables coming forward toward you. Does anybody else want to add to that discussion?
Well, yeah, I totally agree with it. The porch is 3 times the size of what it really should be.
Yes.
And from my personal experience on my house on Liberty Street, I am of the opinion that if something like this is added to a house that is very old, it should be designed in such a way that it could be pulled off at a later date and the original house is returned, the house is returned to its original form. This porch is not appropriate in style or size for the house or for the location. It should be changed.
I agree with Lucy, because I was going to say something similar. Historic preservation, a new addition should not, one, overwhelm, but it should be that exactly what Lucy just said, that it could be removed at a later date and you would never know. It would not. It doesn't affect the original house, but it could also be taken away, so you'd never know it was there. So somebody else could come back and unharm the building. I sort of feel like some of the things that have been generally presented to us lately, this and some other places, are just constantly not being changed and people are trying to ram it down our throats, that we'll just kind of give up. And I'm getting frustrated, but I won't say any more. I just want to say that Angus changed his no substance to So no substance change to no substantive change.
Substantive.
Yep. And he said,
Thank
well put, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, and that's, I guess I kind of said that in my first comment, that the HTC said the additions should come off the back, and that hasn't been addressed at all. There's been definitely very, very minor substantive change on this revision application. So I agree. I'm getting a little frustrated that this and others are continuing to come back to us in nearly the same form as the original.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. You know, that these projects that keep coming back, they're wasting our time. And, you know, the clients are probably complaining they're not getting approvals. If the right thing is done from the start, the whole process would be a lot easier and probably less expensive for the client.
Yep.
I would also like to make another comment about that porch. I think that the spacing of the porch and the proposed wing, the space, ground space or landscape space between those two areas is very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, between the two projecting gables.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. It's very unusual.
I think that they're going out to the side because on the plan, it says that they have plans for a shed in the back. But
Yeah.
you know what? If you wanted more ground cover, go to Cisco or someplace.
Well, maybe they can put the shed in the side yard. I mean, that's not that unusual.
Yep.
Push to the back. All right, Angus, do you have anything more you want to contribute, or should we move on? Not seeing anything. So I'd say let's
No, he said
no.
no.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the next application, which is right here. This is Fair Street. 37 Fair Street. So this one I actually feel has made some progress. This west elevation is a little unusual, but I don't mind that because it's kind of already there, mimicking what's already there in its unusual look. And it definitely improves what was on the north elevation from the previous application. So you guys want to say anything on this one?
I still have, I mean, I feel like that the L as it exists now on the building is like quintessential historic L. And so I really am upset with seeing it go. I do think that north, looking at the north elevation, that piece, I still think it needs to be stepped down more. I don't know how much exactly it is, but it's so not substantial that I think it could come down more.
Yep. Yeah, so that existing L that you're referring to, is that down here,
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it from the rear of the house, it just is that silhouette that was so common on Nantucket at the back with, you know, as houses evolved and the kitchens were, you know, new kitchens were added on, and that's how it was. And so I'm upset to see that go. I'm also upset to see the chimney go. I wasn't on this from the start, so I'm not sure if that was discussed about the age of the L and about the age of the chimney. So
yeah, I mean, I do agree. It's changing and not necessarily for the better. The porch is one of those things that sort of an evolution to some degree. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So Lucy?
I agree that the addition should be stepped down. Agree with Jason on that. And my question was, is the skirt on the porch, is that natural to weather or is that painted or what's happening?
Yeah. Maybe the application, no, which we don't have. Do we? Oh, we do. Here we go.
Doesn't say.
I think it says. I think we could request that it be natural to weather.
Yeah, I just didn't, hold on, let me look at this. The doors are going to be black and the shutters black. I didn't want to see the skirt black.
Oh, God, no. Yeah. Definitely not. Is the trim, what was the trim? The trim would be white, I assume, right?
Yes,
Okay.
trim and sash is white, doors black, shutters black.
Yeah, I think I'm all right about with the black shutters and the black door. Does anybody have a concern about those colors?
No,
So Angus does have some comments here, and he says that flush dormers are awkward when highly visible. I'd rather see enough eave to keep from being broken for head height. Probably the north. Yeah, you know, that typically, well, yeah, all right. So there's a couple things that I would say is wrong with this shed dormer, this flush dormer, is the you know, the eaves should be down on the window casings. There's much too much shingle above the dormer dormer windows, and the meeting rails don't align like they should. So I'll add that to my comments too, dormer details. Angus, did we cover what you wanted to say?
He actually might have fallen off.
Really? Oh, you're right. Oh, he's trying to get in. Yep,
Yeah,
he did. Thank you.
Isn't Zoom fun?
Really? Especially when you have a host like me, it's not paying attention.
They did fine. You kidding? It was me. A total mess.
All right.
Awesome.
Angus, do you think we covered what you needed to have said? We talked about the details of the dormer.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Great.
Oh, great. Oh, how frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm on the ferry. And so, no, my concern really was how that back portion, I appreciate the lower roof line, but the flush dormer, I think is awkward on that side. I would almost rather, if we could still achieve a lower ridge, or even a lower soffit height, I would rather not have that roof line broken up with the flush shed dormer.
Yeah, I think ideally I'd agree with you.
And as far as the paint, I'd rather see a dark, that dark green rather than the black.
Essex green rather than black.
What is the foundation again?
brick and concrete.
And it's being left natural.
Yeah.
And the porch bottom.
Well, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't black.
Yeah. Is it listed as, was it just blank? Sorry.
It doesn't say anything about the porch skirt.
I think the porch skirt should actually be natural to weather.
I'd prefer that.
Yeah.
You might have said that already and it went in one ear and out the other, so I apologize.
We talked about the roof walk skirt, but not the porch skirt. So that's a good add. Porch skirt, natural to weather.
What's the roof walk skirt? Natural to weather?
Well, doesn't, as far as I can tell, it doesn't really say. But
We should have a
Is
skirt.
it just my screen or is there skirt on one side, not on the
Yeah,
other?
that's what it looks like.
that's correct, Angus. And I've noticed that at the beginning and
They never had skirts. The skirts are only being put, I mean, were put on really some bigger, more dramatic houses. But the skirts to me are just a way of trying to hide stuff. And they're not historically appropriate, the skirt.
well,
I think it needs to be consistent.
yeah, partial skirt is awkward. Yeah, and the north of this house, this side is going to be pretty visible, I think, from Darling Street. And I think you'll see that half skirt, part on one side and not on the other.
I agree.
Well, and even from up Fair Street looking back south.
Mhm. Yep. Okay. Anything else on this one?
Not for me.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to 26 Easy Street. Right. Still no Matt McEachern.
We got a tiny little window stuck in. What the heck is that?
Oh, you know what? I actually did have something else to say on the last application for Fair Street, and I'm just going to read that. Pushing, maybe I can pull that up again. I'm sorry. Go on. Okay, so back to the north elevation. Pushing the addition a couple of feet or so to the south so that the addition steps back from the existing face rather than projecting forward would be an improvement, because now it's coming towards us on the north, which to me is a little awkward. I think, a good additive mass steps down and in rather than comes back out.
I agree with that.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And that was all I really wanted to add to that one. So
I think that whole flush dormer exacerbates what your point of it projecting forward.
Mhm.
And then it's really forward with the shed dormer.
yeah, I kind of agree with you, Angus, about the shed dormer, especially because it's projecting on a projecting mass. If it were set back, I don't think I would mind the flush shed dormer as much.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 26 Easy Street. All right. Here we go. Okay. Anybody want to start on this one?
Nope.
Oh, no, Mickey, you go ahead.
Is it still brick? I don't.
No, it's not brick anymore. It's changed it back.
Okay.
That's a relief. All right, so I'm just, I read the HTC's comments. They're all saying the height is too much. And the third floor is the problem. And they all mentioned the balconies as a problem too, which he's continued. He really hasn't changed very much on this at all. I'm, pretty disappointed that this is essentially very minor changes.
Yeah, I mean, he broke up that dormer and stuck some little weird.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a-
Second door. I mean, is that? Yeah, it's like a little. I mean, where?
Yeah, that's almost worse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the applicant has failed to address any of the concerns that the HTC had stated at the last meeting, which still are the height, much too tall for this very visible and dominating corner lot, eliminate the third floor entirely. Second floor balconies should not be approved anywhere downtown. There is no historical precedent. Having people on the second floor overlooking the commercial streets of town has never been part of the character of Nantucket town, whether in the commercial section or residential. It's very important to stick with the simple style of architecture that makes downtown Nantucket special. Once these balconies are allowed, we will see many new applications for them on new or renovated town property, as we already are. They may be acceptable on the back of specific buildings if they are not readily visible. Additive massing, there should be a main mass and a subordinate mass, not two equally proportioned masses of the same height. So, Lucy, do you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with what Jason said before about applications that continue to come back with either no or very, very minor changes. I mean, this is too tall. It's too massive. It ruins this streetscape.
I mean, you think of what's there now. This like unassuming little thing. And this is like,
Yeah, can you see that?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's obviously there now.
It's a little kind of salt boxy kind of shack, kind of like
Mhm.
structure that's fairly plain and fairly simple. And this is just going to, I mean, it's going to be, is it going to be taller than what's next door? I mean, and then it's going to move halfway, you know, it's going to double in length going back down. Was it Oak?
Yeah.
Is that Oak? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just,
I think this is a helpful exercise to look at the streetscape because the building that looks awkward in this picture is the one that is trying to get a third story in there. Even the one back on Oak Street, the newer building, you know, has dormers in order to give more light to a second floor, not to a third floor. And it just, in general, there's a stepping down of structures as it gets closer and closer to the water. And this just goes the opposite direction.
yeah. I mean, we don't want a repeat of what's next door already, which is exactly what he's proposing. They're almost identical.
I mean, look at like where Kidding Around is. I mean, that is what this street looked like. And it's being building by building destroyed and made into these monster things that are just not.
Here's another example.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not, it's,
Well,
look kind of like the kind of working waterfront kind of.
Mhm.
That's what encourages more balconies and more third floor developments.
Yeah.
And we need to take that as a lesson and not go down that road because it really will change town.
Definitely. So, I mean, you can see all the applications we're getting. They all have second, third floor balconies, certainly third floor spaces where there weren't any before. So it's, you know, it's not, they're not entitled to get those spaces or those balconies. We just need to control it.
Well, and the balconies, I mean, like the Dreamland one from, I mean, that's stepped way back from the street.
Yeah.
It's not right above the street looking, you know.
Yeah. And there's one on this building up Oak Street that looks like a balcony up here. And, you know, I don't love it, but it's pretty discreet. You don't notice it that much. It's not right in your face.
Right.
It is subtle, and I think that's what makes that one more successful as far as a exterior open balcony space.
I mean, because this building, the site is basically visible on every side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I haven't even really looked at the sort of the, what would it be, the west elevation, which will be visible looking down Oak Street. Where's that? That's probably right here. 3 full floors.
Just
So, you know, hopefully he'll get the message. The HGC has to be, you know, consistent. So far, they're saying make it lower, and hopefully they'll continue to do that. So, anything else on this one?
no, not for me.
All right, that's all we got. How do I stop sharing? Here we go.
I just wanted to say there are plenty of examples of 2-story buildings, you know, a full 2-story eave with commercial space below, lots of glazing, then above windows, but almost all the situations stop at the eave. There isn't a development of the third floor. There's like a gable window, but they're rarely dormers. And when they are, they on the newer buildings, it's so clearly awkward and different from the historical precedent.
They stand out.
Holly sent an email that Matt won't be at the meeting today, but let me know if there are any specific questions.
All right. Thanks,
Like,
Helen.
can you make it lower?
I think they're getting the point, but are they doing anything?
I think, you know, Mickey, I wish there was some way that we could encourage the HDC to, you know, instead of these projects going around in circles, that, you know, just tell the client's representative to, you know, severe change. These changes have to be made.
Yeah, they probably could be a little bit more clear. I mean, the minutes definitely reflect on those last two applications for Bloom Street and Easy Street, a direction that they will ask him to do, and he didn't do it. So, you know, I can't say that it's the HDC's fault, but they
Office taking the application back again.
well, they can't stop it at the gate, you know, that they've got to accept it. And the HGC is the one that has to make the decisions. So it's frustrating. I know, you know, we went through this up on the Stone Alley, you know, for years. They've made no changes whatsoever. And eventually the HGC denied it. And maybe, you know, that's hopefully what might have to happen if they don't make real changes. But so far, you know, we'll see on this application. We'll see what happens at the next meeting. So that's all we can do. Unfortunately, we're just advisory. All right, so I think we're done with the applications. Is there oh, you know what we didn't do is approval of minutes, but I don't see any minutes listed. And just to make it clear, let's adopt the agenda, which we just went through. So is there a motion to adopt the agenda from
Yes.
Lucy and seconded by Jason?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I guess I'm an aye. And there's no minutes to approve, I guess, so we'll skip that. And then a motion to approve the comments for the agenda items. Lucy?
Yeah.
So
Motion by Lucy, seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's all 4 ayes. And motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mickey.
You're
Thanks, Mickey.
welcome. Yep.
Bye,
We'll
everyone.
see you around.
Bye.